Communication is so valuable, yet it's not something we really teach or learn or work at much. I mean, you may think you do, but do you really? I mean, what do I mean by communication? That's a very broad word. Basically, it's the way we transfer ideas, explain ideas. And the most effective way is stories. That is by far the most effective way to communicate, to teach. Now, there's communication with ourselves, there's communication with other people, there's communication with groups of people, and communication with family, friends, strangers. There's all these different elements that you don't really think about it, but it's all very different and complex. Because sometimes you got to say some things, sometimes you got to say less, even though you want to say more to actually get the communication across. I mean, that's kind of confusing, right? Like, for instance, today I was watching someone try to communicate with their partner, and they were just saying too much. Now let me back this up. Here's what I really saw. I saw someone trying to communicate for their own benefit. And we all do that. I mean, it's always for our own benefit. But when we take the slight position of do what I'm telling you to do, that comes across in the communication style. Whereas if it's I want to help you, that's different. And those can be very difficult to tell those apart. But I promise you, the person on the other end that's hearing it, that's being talked to, that's being communicated to, is feeling something different depending on where this message is being communicated from. So where the main thought you're communicating from, the person on the other end feels that. Because it comes across in everything. It's not something they can put their finger on or really even explain back to you. Or if someone's talking to you, same thing. But it's a feeling, right? It's a gauge. It's an indicator. It's a measurement. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. Yeah. Again, see, it's a funny thing about communication. It's hard to communicate communication because it's the most subtle things can change the effectiveness, the message, and everything of the communication. But if I can give you one thing, where your communication is coming from, the thought, the place it's coming from, is going to be your guide. And it's got to be coming from a place that whoever you're talking to, you're trying to benefit them. Now, even that's not specific enough because it's so tricky to know the difference of whether you're communicating to help them, which helps them, but you may be communicating more to help yourself. And you will be communicating. Everything we do in life is to help ourselves. But how we do that looks different. The places that comes from looks different. So when you're communicating with someone, talk to them from a place of understanding. Ooh, see, this is so challenging to communicate. It really is what I'm trying to say to you, because it's a feeling. And how do you communicate feelings? It's challenging. But the better you are at it, the more magical of a life you're going to have. But for now, what you're thinking of and what you're feeling, where it's coming from, that's your message. And you got to be real with yourself. You got to be honest. You got to be real, because what we're saying is one thing, but the tones and the way we're saying it say most of the actual message. Where you can be saying something to someone that you're trying to help them and get them to do something, but the way you're doing it, the style you're taking, the little maneuvers you're making in the conversation, in the communication, can really say